Hey there, Danielle Matthews here. I am coming to you live from Florida. Today is Monday, so it's book club day, and we are in the midst of The Yoga of Relationships, which is a book not about yoga poses, but about the philosophies coming from the East, coming from these traditions that are helping you understand the body-mind connection, helping you understand your inner world. And this week we're on chapter 4. And chapter 4 is called Expectation is Silent Reaction. And actually, the way that I think about this is expectations are the seeds of frustrations. And it is amazing once you understand this, once you understand how the seeds got planted, where they're coming from, what's going on with them, and how they are actually the root cause of all conflict and struggle that you are having in your relationships. If you're joining me live for book club, let me know when you get here. And if you catch the replay, let me know that you're on the replay. All right. So expectations being the seeds of frustrations. Expectations are like how we think things should be, ought to be, could be, right? These are the expectations we have. Well, things like I expected my husband to take care of me while I was sick, or I expected my children to get married, or I expected, so-and-so to go to college and get this type of job, or whatever. Expectations are the seeds of frustrations. And if you've not reached this point yet in your life, I'm sure that you may. And he says, like, one of the last kind of questions that we get to is like, why is God doing this to me? Why is this happening to me? Why is God letting this happen to me? Why is God doing this to me? Good morning, Karen. And it's interesting, right? Because what he would say is nothing is actually happening to you. Life is just unfolding. And we have this magic trick of making things feel very personal. And because we have expectations of how things could be, should be, ought to be. And relationships have a way of sort of bringing our expectations to a head. Our relationships and the dynamics between the people in our life tend to bring it into sharp focus. I mean, just put a 1 in the chat if that is true for you, that you're like, you see, hey Tina, you see through your relationships with others, like, well, I expect them to treat my stuff nicely. I expect them to be respectful. I expect them to be home for dinner. I expect them whatever, right? You start to see the expectations that I'm talking about very quickly. Hey, Kathy, when you're in relationships. And he says, these demands, these expectations that we either consciously have or don't even realize that we're having, all right, these are the demands that end up sabotaging the very thing that we actually want, all right? And this doesn't mean that relationships aren't working, but rather that it's going against what we thought they should be, how we thought they were going to unfold, all right? This is why we get frustrated. Expectations are the seeds of frustrations because things end up not going the way that you expect them to and that we want them to. Hey, Sean, good to see you. So expectations of others are related to the attention and appreciation that we want from them. Okay, understand this dynamic. He says, what we fail to recognize is that others are forwarding the fulfillment of our expectations in hope that we will, in return, fulfill their undeclared expectations. Behind the generosity in the early stages of romance is a file drawer filled with hidden demands. Well, I did this for you, so you're going to do this for me. Anybody have that, seen that in themselves and others, right? He says each person in the new relationship creates an illusion of kindness and giving in the other, but underneath is just a needy, insecure individual who is actually wanting things for themselves. All right, this is just how it happens, and it's the nature of our mind. So don't judge yourself for this. It's just like this is what happens. And he says this giving is an investment in which each is expecting to reclaim more than they themselves are giving. It is not love, but it is a contractual arrangement. These are the dynamics we get into, right? It's like we put our best face forward, like he was talking about in the last week. We have these masks we wear at the beginning of relationships, and you act a certain way, and you're doing a certain thing. And really it's because you want the other person to be giving you what you feel you're missing. We all end up looking for it in the other, in the relationship. And we also, he says, a lot of times in relationships, we try to change the other person, right? Because we're expecting them to act a certain way. We want them to be a certain way so that we feel loved, we get the love, it's unfolding the way that we want. And sometimes we will actually try to change the other person. And what he points out, on page 26 in this chapter is he says, look, it is futile. You cannot change another. And even if you do change them, what have you created but a puppet? Somebody who does exactly what you say when you say, and they're internally resenting you. And also, you're going to get bored because this person is just always going to do exactly what you say to do, right? He says it so perfectly. He says, trying to change another is absolutely futile. Even if the other makes concessions and does it our way, what have we gained? But a puppet who internally resents us. Soon, we will tire of the puppet who responds when we pull the strings, because love with strings is a one-sided affair, all right? I thought that was really interesting. And another thing he points out with all of this, this frustration that we create in our relationships, right, in these dynamics, he says, any situation we face, he's talking about the root of all problems in relationships. He calls it the anatomy of the problem. So we can kind of look back, not getting involved in like what actually took place and who said what and why they say it and whatever, but looking at the anatomy of the problems themselves, right? He says, any situation we face may have been initially caused by another, but we are responsible for prolonging it as a problem. And this is something that I want all of you to understand. We're going to hit this point really hard because I think it was one of the best pieces of this chapter, and ask questions if you don't get it, because he says basically you're poisoning yourself at this point. Nurturing problems consumes large amounts of your prana, your life force, your energy, the same energy that digests your food. If you are worrying in your mind about something somebody said or how they said it or whatever, that prana can't digest your food. Your life force is being zapped and used up in your mind. Hence why stress gets us sick, right? Because we use our prana. Keeping a problem alive long after an event is over is exhausting. It takes a great deal of work to maintain a high level of emotional charge, and it is depleting for your life force energy. Put a 5 in the chat if you felt that, right? Continuing to be angry and angry and angry. It's like eventually it's like enough is a freaking enough, right? We're not changing what happened, and you're poisoning yourself, right? It is just complete poison to yourself. Managing and conserving prana is essential when developing your consciousness. He says, emotionally charged conflicts may appear to be directed at the other, the offender, but we are really turning it against ourselves. We are the only ones who are truly suffering. We may have a problem with another, but ultimately we are responsible for taking it to the level of crisis. Remember the equation I taught you at the beginning of this? And I hope you apply this into the relationship that you said you wanted to deal with through this book, all right? The external world plus your internal response is what creates your experience of life. So yes, as he says, any situation we face may have been initially caused by another, right? There was an external circumstance. They cheated on you. They didn't come home for dinner. They said a rude thing. They yelled at you, whatever. They passed judgment. External, 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 external. So it's very easy for us to point the finger at the external world, right? Well, they did this. I was fine until they said that, or they did this, or whatever, right? But what he's saying is, we are responsible for prolonging it. Our internal response is going to create the experience of life. They could have been late for dinner and we could have said, is everything okay? Where are you? Or where were you? Or we could say, what the hell's wrong with you? You're always late. You don't respect me, right? We're having a different experience based on our internal reaction. Is this making sense? Yes, no, yes. Okay, so this is everything. Okay, it's this internal response. He's saying we ultimately are responsible for taking things to the level of crisis. It's the difference between pain and suffering. All right, if my internet is being funny, it seems to be working well over on Instagram. If you guys need to jump to another platform, apologies, but I'm up on Instagram, I'm up on Facebook, and this will go onto my YouTube channel after. You know how the internet is out here. It's back and forth. But he says, here's the analogy. It's like 2 arrows, pain versus suffering, right? The first arrow causes physical pain. That's real. The external world happens and it hurts. Okay? There's no avoiding that. Even enlightened people will get hurt because sometimes things just hurt. People die. People say mean things. Like it pierces your heart and it hurts. It represents an insult or hurtful behavior by someone we care about. But the second arrow is our own self-caused suffering as we play and replay the incident in our mind. It is symbolized by the mind as it imagines what the insult or behavior means, making up stories, perpetuating the suffering, which is not real pain. The initial pain is unavoidable, the external world, but it's the internal response. If you're ruminating, if you're thinking about it, if you're doing all of that, you're going to continue to perpetuate it, and you are actually now the one making yourself miserable. Not the person for doing the thing, but you for continuing to interact and react to it in a certain way. Am I making sense? Because this is everything. Pain versus suffering. Our beloved, he says, has probably forgotten the event altogether while we wallow in our own misery. Pain is acute, suffering is chronic. Something happens, you lose your health, something occurs. It's not fair. Our expectation was it wouldn't have happened that way, but our internal response to it is going to create our reality. So we can either accept and figure out how to find happiness amidst whatever external circumstances have come into our lives, right? Or whatever somebody has done or whatever it might be, or we can continue to suffer. Like, it's our choice. You do have a choice. You're not a victim. This is, I think, what a lot of people maybe don't like about spiritual teachings, right? Is that it's like there's no onus on anyone else. It is directly, squarely on your shoulders. Whatever is happening in life, you get to be at peace with it or not. You are going to experience life from a peaceful place or not. You're going to have peace in your relationship or not. It is going to be your internal choice to create the experience. All right. And so I want to empower you with this knowledge, right? Understanding the anatomy of the problem is key. Understanding external world plus internal response equals your reality. This is the anatomy. What's your internal response? And that's what we need to figure out. And the good news is that relationships are going to be revealing to you again and 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 again the internal responses that are unconscious and automatic. And it's going to help you find the ones that we can then shine light on and bring them conscious. So he says, once we learn how not to extend the problems beyond its occurrence, it will die of malnutrition. All right. What we don't feed with our attention naturally dies. In yoga, they call it pratyahara, the withdrawal of attention, because energy follows attention. What do I mean by this? Close your eyes for a minute, unless you're driving. Close your eyes for a minute, and I want you to focus solely, do this with me, close your eyes. Focus solely on your right hand. I want you to feel your right thumb, your pointer finger. I want you to feel your middle finger, your ring finger, your pinky finger, the whole palm. Feel the entire right hand. Now I want you to focus on your left hand. Feel the left hand thumb, the index finger, the middle finger, the ring finger, the pinky finger. Feel the whole left hand. Now open your eyes. Did you notice how energy followed your attention? When you focused on the right hand, maybe you felt a little more heat. You felt a little bit more energy. You felt a little bit more happening in the right. And then when you focus on the left, it's like it withdrew from the right and went to the left. Why? Energy, your life force, follows your attention. So what you focus on will expand, and what you withdraw it from will, as he says, die of malnutrition. So if you continue to focus on the problem, you are continuing to feed it and perpetuate it. Does that make sense? You're continuing to feed and perpetuate the problem. And so what you want to do is no longer feed and perpetuate the problem. What you want to do is stop focusing on it. Withdraw attention from it. Hey guys, it sounds like Facebook's having a problem because I see y'all over here on Instagram. So apologies for that. Hopefully this one stays good. All right, so he gives an example of like a guy who comes home and his wife or his girlfriend's partner, right, isn't there, doesn't have dinner ready, and he gets pissed, right? He gets so upset. He gets lit up about this. She eventually walks into the door, and rather than saying, well, where were you? And is everything okay? And whatever, he screams at her, right? Gets angry at her. Now she just walks in the door and now she's bewildered. She's come home and she's getting yelled at by the very person that she loves. All right? And what he says is he was so caught up in reaction because she did not meet his unspoken expectation. in the moment. She didn't realize he had expected her to be home to make dinner or whatever, right? And so he's come at her with this. There was an unspoken expectation that she didn't meet. So now he's angry. And she now walks into this anger, and now she's going to get triggered because it's like, well, why are you getting mad at me? This isn't fair, you know? And he's like, well, it's not fair what you did to me. And this whole dynamic, sound familiar? Right? Maybe it wasn't about dinner, but it was about something else. All right, this whole dynamic is now underway and is happening. He says, we're on page 29, expectation of the way another should act is a self-sabotaging behavior. People are going to be who they are. She's just doing her. It's not for him, it's not against him. She was just living her life. He took it personally. Reaction, though, this is key. Next key part of this whole chapter. Reaction is a clue to one's own personality rather than the defects in the other. Reaction is outside. It is projecting outside what is inside. And I want to just kind of unpack that concept for a minute. What he's saying is, when you have a reaction, so this guy that gets mad because she wasn't home to cook dinner, there was some seed planted, okay? Maybe it was feeling forgotten about or not loved, right? Something that happened in his childhood where, like, his parents did forget about him one day and there wasn't dinner on the table, and, like, it was traumatic as a kid, right? And he didn't have the wherewithal to handle it then, and so it got stuck. They call it an emotional grunty, right? This energy block that gets stuck in your system, something that happened when you were young or in the past, maybe a past relationship. And so that's in there. And while the mind has moved forward and life has gone on, that event was never actually properly digested emotionally. And so now we'll call it a weather pattern, right? This weather comes in, this new relationship, this new girlfriend. She doesn't cook dinner one night. He's expecting it. He's had a long, hard day. He just wants to sit down and have dinner with her. She's not there and there's no food. And so the same sort of weather from before happens, and boom, this seed expresses itself, right? Turns into a weed. And all of a sudden he has this rage come out. And it's rage, it seems like initially because of what the girlfriend didn't do. But what he's saying is, no, understand, this is actually a seed, an expectation from the past of, in order for me to feel loved, people have to make food for me, because when they don't make food for me, I feel unloved, and because of the thing that happened in the past, okay? So this gets basically triggered because of what had happened in the past. Guys, the trigger is the teacher. This is the whole point of this lesson. Relationships create the weather patterns that trigger these seeds inside of us, these little, like, emotional landmines that go off, and you're like, where the hell did that even come from? Totally disproportionate to the situation, right? She got stuck at work. She couldn't come home and make food. Why would we get mad at her? But he does. Because he was triggered from his past. You with me? And so that trigger, what he's saying is the reaction outside is actually revealing something that was within. While it looks like the weather pattern was the problem, the girlfriend was the problem, really it was his internal response of feeling this way, this thing from his past that he had never dealt with. And so there's an opportunity. This is the beauty of relationships. If you let them, dynamics in relationships will start to reveal this stuff, because your buttons will get pushed, your triggers will go off. And it's a chance for you to learn that the trigger was even there, because had the weather not come through, that seed would never have come into a weed, right? You would have never known that it was there. You would have never been triggered. And so you'd have been holding that around. And holding something like that, unprocessed emotion, it takes your life force energy to hold it. That's stress in the system. It's subconscious blocks. This is the kind of stuff that feels like an anchor, and we're like, why can't I go forward? And what's going on? And why do I keep inviting the same situations in? Why? Because this holds a frequency, and it's going to continue to invite in situations like it so it can reveal itself to you. You understand? This is like everything in life. So you can use life as a therapeutic irritation. You can use every moment, every conversation, every interaction, every experience. You can use it to reveal what is not unprocessed and unfinished within me. It's not the other person's fault. They were just doing their thing. I had an internal response. Where the hell did that come from? What is it rooted in? What was my unspoken expectation? Right? And how do I release that so I'm free from it? So I can just be in the present moment. Rather than getting pissed off dinner's not here, I can actually go, wait, is she okay? Well, maybe I should prepare dinner for her because she's had a long day. Right? You can be present in the moment, not seeing it through these screens of our past and our emotions. This is everything. If you can get this, It's everything. Go listen to what I just said again when this is over, because it's literally everything. So he says at the bottom, conflict in relationships invariably arises from personal reaction, those seeds, to what is happening in the present that reminds us of the past. It's something within you. The current situation triggered a memory from the past, an emotional block. Acquired reactions are buried deep in the unconscious mind. These are the seeds I'm talking about. Without rational thinking, we instantly evaluate and judge the present moment against these memories and prejudices. It's unconscious and automatic. It happens because it's been patterned into us. Does that make sense? You don't even know you're doing it until it's done. And then you're like, whoa, why did I just do that? Okay, that's what we want to create the awareness about, to realize, no, it wasn't their fault. It wasn't out there. That was something in here that got triggered. He says, reactions are our entry into dualistic thinking. Duality is separation. The very thing we want to avoid, we unconsciously are inviting into our lives. I want to explain quickly unity, polarity, duality. We've talked about this before from other books because, again, massive teaching. So, unity is the full circle, okay? Everything together, both halves. This is the yin yang. So, the back, unity. I painted it blue so you can see. When it's together, it's one. And what happens in life is that we live in a world of polarity, right? So there's dark and light. There's day and night. There's love and hate. There's up, there's down. There's the breath in, there's the breath out. There's all this stuff happening. That's polarity. And duality is when we enter into this. These are expectations. Well, it should be this way. It shouldn't be this way. I wanted it to be this way. It ought to be this way. I want good, I don't want bad. I want happy, I don't want sad. I want love, I don't want hate, right? We get into duality. And the reality is you need both. Both halves make up the whole. You can't really understand freedom unless you've been under control. You don't know the difference, right? But life is taking us to the point where it's saying, hey, stop getting into duality. Stop seeking pleasure and trying to avoid pain, because it's impossible. We live in a world of polarity. It's going to rotate, and it's going to rotate between the two all of the time. But if you can stop getting separated and stop your mind from going, well, I want that, I don't want that, I expect this, and this ought not happen. If we can just get into unity, if we can just accept the up and the down, that's everything. Okay? He says, let's read page 30. He gets into duality versus polarity. He says, in duality, personal biases override the universal laws of positive and negative, of expansion and contraction, right? It is a universal principle that we have polarity in this world. But the associated emotion that our human mind creates is, well, I like this and I don't like this, right? I want this one, I don't want this one. Okay, that's what happens in the mind. And this is another form of primal fight or flight response. We gravitate towards the pleasure and we avoid the pain. All right, this unconscious decision is where we create separation. It's where we go from unity into duality. And duality is it's the devil. In polarity, we can accept life's ups and downs, right? We see that one flows into the other and it's all just kind of complementary. And we can accept that. Accepting all of life's occurrences with equanimity is one of the highest yogic teachings. They call it santosha. Being okay with whatever is presented in life. I'm okay with the ups and I'm okay with the downs. I'm just as good with love as I am with hate, because I realize that both make up a whole, and I am whole and complete no matter what is happening, no matter which side is flowing through. All right, that is the opportunity we have to move into unity, and that's an opportunity that we all have because it's an inner choice. Okay, it's an inner choice that we all can make. External world can't make it. It's the inner choice that you can make that. He says, reaction is not a deliberate choice. It's an intrusive, compelling habit arising from the self-image. To be released from these knee-jerk reactions, we're back to talking about these seeds of what I like and don't like and what gets exploded in situations. He says, the seed is not always a deliberate choice because it's been patterned into us, right? So it's an intrusive and compelling habit that just, boom, happens. It can be unconscious and automatic. And he talks about being released as a knee-jerk reaction. One must learn the technique to create space between what's actually happening, the weather pattern, And the formation of this reaction, the seed turning into a weed, turning into reaction, you getting triggered, the emotional landmine going off. You need to realize, what is the external world that's actually happening, and what is my internal response, and what reality do I want to make? This is the opportunity that you have. But you have to realize and own your piece, which is you're being triggered. You had an expectation. You wanted something different. Life isn't showing up as you wanted. This is an inner thing that you've now got to look at and go, what the hell is that within me? You can't change the outer person. Remember, you can't change the external world. The behavior has already showed up. The situation has already happened. You can run into that door as much as you want, but you can't change it. What you can do is see that the door, it is a door, right? It's not a wall, it's a door. You can open it. How do you open it? By looking at your internal response and going, oh, okay, this is my needing to feel loved. This is my needing to feel heard. This is my whatever. I'm not feeling good enough. This is my abandonment issue. This is whatever. You can see it in the moment for what it is and realize the external world was just happening and I was doing some magic trick, making it personal from this internal response I was having. Let me go deal with my internal response. Let me go resolve that. That's where Yoga Nidra, Yoga Therapy, my Inner Mastery program, this is what we do, right? And those of you that are in my program, you know that this is the power that we have. And it's been transforming all of your lives. Because now your interactions with your loved ones are shifting and changing because you're realizing your piece in the matter, your piece in the equation. And he says, life perpetually moves us towards self-healing, towards finding those seeds. Life is perpetually giving us the right weather to see what is revealed, what can be revealed within us. Pain from the past is not present to continually hurt us. It longs to be consciously assimilated into the light. You keep drawing in these situations that are bumping up and causing this seed to be triggered because it wants to be completely rooted out and let go of. It wants to be transmuted into the light. And until you realize that, you're going to keep running into this wall. You're going to keep running into the same problems, the same dynamics in the relationships because you're the issue. It's a thing in here that you need to deal with. And once you deal with it, you're liberated. You realize, oh, that's my feeling of not being good enough. Well, I am good enough. I am whole and complete, right? And you start working through that misconception that got put in there, and it will liberate you, all right? Every experience carries within it the solution to heal the cause of the pain from the past, giving us freedom and joy in the present. Every single situation, person, dynamic, it is revealing to you what is inside of you. And so if you use life as a teacher, right? You can use every single moment, moment by moment, to teach you and allow you to be liberated from this junk and emotional buildup from the past. It is amazing. Okay. He ended this chapter with an exchange with a man. And so I'm just going to dive into the exchange. He says, the irritation, right? The weather pattern, the irritation has the power to destroy your mind with depression, jealousy, and the perception of being deficient. Meaning, if you keep looking at the external world, at what your spouse did, at what the external world did, you will keep feeling like a victim. You will keep being depressed. You will keep passing judgment. You will keep being upset, not realizing you're doing this to yourself. Even though justifiably it seems like the environment is doing it to you, no, you're perpetuating it within your own mind. Okay? What he says is, it is not about her. It's not about the relationship. It's about you. You must be aware of the way that you are reacting to her behavior. She is just being herself. Life is just happening. The person is just being them. Think about the relationship dynamic that you wanted to work on. They are just being themselves. You are having a reaction to how they are being. What is that inner reaction that you are having? It's revealing something inside of you. It is teaching you something. And the man says, yeah, but what happens is I feel like I'm on my edge and I don't know which way to go. Like, okay, I'm getting pissed off, but what do I do? And Yogi Desai says, well, your edge is your first reaction. You're seeing the seed get triggered. You have no choice about that reaction itself. He always says the first reaction is free. Oh, there's my trigger, right? Boom, I just went off. But when you take action based on that, that's your second reaction. It is destined to create conflict. Don't go over your edge. So when you get triggered and you feel this thing go off, create space before you just unconsciously and automatically do it. Try to shine the light of awareness and go, why am I feeling that way? What is this actually about for me? Ask different questions. Realize it's not them. Realize something in you is getting triggered. And the man says, the edge feels like a space where I start running from my own mind because I'm so pissed off and I don't know what to do. He's like, I want to run away from that feeling. And it's easier to blame the other. It's easier to dump emotions out on the other than to deal with your own shit inside of you, right? It's easier. And Yogi Desai says, most of us run away when the situation feels too uncomfortable. Do you do that? Actually, we are running into the door that is trying to open for us, right? The weather is creating the dynamic to reveal this thing inside of you, that if you allow it, it turns into the doorknob that opens the door so you can liberate yourself from this. But we just keep slamming ourselves against it. Doors are always there inviting us to new possibilities. Okay? That is a very interesting perspective. He says, if I choose a partner, the man now is asking, if I choose a partner who is in reality a reflection of myself, at which point do I stop viewing the relationship that is not working as an opportunity for my own growth? And do I see divorce as the appropriate action? How do I ever know when I'm reacting to my own stuff, like when it's my own trigger versus like this partner is just not right for me? And Yogi Desai says, when you can dismantle and separate your internal reaction of conflict with your wife, what remains is just the other. And when you see clearly, perhaps divorce is the best course for both of you. If it is still yourself you are resisting though, if it's really the inner thing, you will divorce, you'll get married again, and the identical issues will arise. You are back to being with your first wife because you have not done the painful work of seeing yourself in all of your expectations of others. The seed is the issue, not the weather. And until you deal with the seed, you're going to keep getting triggered again and again and again and again. All right. So that was the chapter this week. I'm sorry. Some people seem to have no problem on Facebook, and some seem to have problems. So I don't know. It will be up on the YouTube channel regardless, in case these live streams didn't go well. That YouTube channel is The Inner Choice. It'll be posted up there today. I'll get it up there. Share this, guys. Share this with people. Have people watch this. It is so insightful. The things in this chapter, these lessons, polarity, duality, plus the seed, understanding your own internal response, that's everything. It changed my life when I started to actually integrate this and understand the power of what was being said here. And so every single situation in life is always revealing more and more to you about you. And that's what freedom's all about. So next week, I am traveling. I am in Ecuador next week, and I am told I'll be in the mountains with no service. So we will not be meeting next week, which is probably good because you should go back to this chapter and you should watch this again, truly. And then the next one we'll do is chapter 5, and that will be like the 16th or whatever that date in June is. So I will, I'll put it in the Telegram chat. The next time we're going to meet, and we'll do chapter 5, but really mull over this one. The timing of my trip is perfect because this chapter really is everything. And if you have comments, questions, let's talk in Telegram. You can just reply to anything I post in there, and it will create a dialogue in our chat. So lots of love to you guys. I hope this was great. I hope it was insightful for you, and I will see you not next week, but the week after. Bye.